The NBA trade deadline is fast approaching, and with each year comes teams looking to usually either commit to a rebuild or push for postseason contention. We're going to focus on the contenders, those being the top 4 teams of each conference, and what moves that they need to make a championship run. This video will tackle the Eastern Conference and its top 4 teams, with the Western Conference coming in a later video. Number 1 is the Heat. The Miami Heat have been big buyers in the past few seasons, and it's worked for them, honestly. They made a finals appearance a couple seasons ago and now sit atop of the East, getting guys like Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry on their team, and drafting key pieces such as Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero showed that the front office is no one to mess with. Honestly, when healthy, they have one of the most complete starting lineups with a lethal 6-man in Hero coming off the bench. They aren't without areas that could use an upgrade though, because they have been dealing with missed games to key players, so the Heat should be focused on snagging high-value players for insurance policies. One of those guys could and should be a replacement for Duncan Robinson. Robinson has regressed to league average shooting after some hot from range seasons, and defensively, opponents shoot over 6% better from 3 when guarded by him. A 3-and-D player would be perfect replacement for someone with his role, but other than that, the Miami Heat should consider getting a center who can handle guys like Joel Embiid and also provide better rebounding. Bam Adebayo is an awesome player, but he's just 6'9". Bam gets bullied inside by big star post players and has a low rebounding rate. Basically, the Heat need to just keep options open to have different ways to attack teams once the playoffs come. An injury to the team or a star center like Joel Embiid would give this team major trouble. The Bulls are up next at number 2 in the East, surprisingly, as they made big moves that were questioned by a large number of people around the league. And now that some of those key pieces, Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, are dealing with injury problems, they severely need to bolster the guard depth. Lonzo and Caruso were great additions to the team because they're low-usage, very high-impact guys that complement the team's primary scorers, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Lonzo and Caruso were devastating other teams on defense while keeping the ball moving and spacing the floor. The Bulls should continue to target guys like that are comfortable in roles like that. A high rebounding defensive center would be helpful as well, as they only rank 28th out of 30 in defensive rebounding. Their needs are very similar to the Heat, so expect their trade targets to overlap. But one guy in particular that I would like to see the Bulls make a move for is Marcus Smart. He can be a strong defensive-minded starting option and then come off the bench once the team is fully healthy. Him and Kobe White would form a nice 2-man bench duo. Either way, the Bulls are a high-flying, explosive, and fun team to watch. Seeing them make a long postseason run would make most viewers happy. The next team on the list is the Philadelphia 76ers. It's no secret that the 76ers have a couple of problems with how their roster is constructed. After losing in the playoffs last year to the Hawks, they lost Ben Simmons essentially for the year after the team seemed to blame him publicly. Now the team is fully centered around their other star MVP candidate, Joel Embiid, so maximizing his value should be the number 1 priority. Let this be a shocker for nobody, the Sixers front office has been, and needs to, look for a deal to get a star perimeter scorer onto the team. Philadelphia ranks 28th in 3-pointers attempted per game, so adding that type of player really adds to the floor spacing and offensive options. If that trade target is a floor general, that's even better because the team is only 22nd in assists. And finally, having someone who can create other than Embiid allows him to put more pressure on the boards because the team is dead last in defensive rebounding. The non-injured player that most fits this mold would be James Harden, even amongst his shooting slump. Harden has long been a threat from distance that commands double teams. This gravity paired with excellent court vision allows James to constantly find the open man and rack up assists. He might be the Sixers' best bet for a championship. The last team we'll talk about today is last year's NBA champion, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are looking strong, and Giannis is just as dominant as ever. They employ a starting lineup that works hard defensively and has the luxury of 4 players shooting 38% from 3 or better to surround Giannis. The team stars have missed quite a few games as expected after a long postseason run, and as a result, Milwaukee has fallen a little bit behind in the standings. They still managed to muster both a top 10 offense and defense despite that. So we're just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say a lot of their issues fall on the missed games from stars. Those issues being shooting percentage, assist ranking, and a lot of defensive factors like opponents' 2-point percentage and forced turnovers. So the Bucks should then look for guys that can contribute in reserve roles. This is to give the stars rest for the postseason without losing too much ground in the standings. In particular, backup point guard would be great to replace George Hill. Hill has started 16 games so far this season out of necessity, but has been shooting the ball poorly and allowing opponents to shoot 2.6% better, so he hasn't been contributing much exactly on either end of the floor. After that, grabbing a stretch 5 who can protect the rim would help Giannis, because the Greek Freak has spent 55% of his minutes at center this year. Great for him as he is excellent in that role, but it does add a lot of wear on him before the big games come along. Expect a move towards centers like Jalen Smith or even Mo Bamba. Both guys that should be attainable at the deadline and within budget, but at the end of the day, this team will only go as far as Giannis takes it. Preserving him and his co-stars is the key for repeating to the title. Let me know in the comments who you expect to win the East and what moves they need to make to do so. Thanks for watching.